Welcome to Tuesday Talks with Shawnee Alliance Church.
It is our desire to invite you into conversations about the life topics and questions we all face.
Wherever you are in your faith journey, we invite you to explore the freedom found in a transformed life.
Hi, friends. Welcome. Kris is laughing at me. Hi, friends. Welcome back to another week of Tuesday Talks. I'm Bridgett, and you already heard Kris is joining me. That's why we're being silly. We're going to have a lot of fun today. We're going to talk about the difference between a private life and a secret life. I think we have some social media has really messed up our view of what boundaries are and how we actually protect relationships. And so today we're going to talk about how do we be smart with our information? How do we live with authenticity and vulnerability? But how do we make sure that we're protecting our heart and not sharing things with people that don't deserve the right to know the information?
And you could almost add that third category of an intentionally fake life, right? And I think that's one of the big things with social media where, the number of times where, the last 10 posts someone has is how great their marriage is, and then the next post is we're divorced, I always get a little frustrated with this because I don't know if it's the way God wired my brain or if it's, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but if you don't have a station in my life, I don't really care what you think. I do care that that I present myself in a way that honors Jesus. And sometimes what that means is when I don't feel like it, I'm still kind, right? Yeah. Lord, help us today that all the Christ followers who have a short temper quit trying to be Christ-like because, that'd be a horrible day for the church. We get into a slippery slope sometimes, right? Where what is the difference between a secret life and a private life? I think it's worth talking about because I think for some people, especially if authenticity doesn't come naturally, or if we are especially concerned about the opinions of others, I don't know that we navigate it well, and I don't know that we talk about it. And there's pressure, and I mean, you talk to a middle school student, and there's pressure to conform and to look a certain way and to dress a certain way and to think a certain way. And that pressure doesn't necessarily stop, but our response to it can become more mature. Yeah. So you're talking about secret versus private. So let me start with private, okay? Had a great conversation a few weeks back with someone who is a professional counselor, and she made a phenomenal statement. And she said, when you're communicating with people, really what you should be asking is, what do they need to know? And what would be helpful to have them praying about? I love that because my family and I, we do not owe it to other people that they know every detail of our life. Okay? I have a son. Sometimes he's disciplined. I have a wife. Sometimes we disagree intently. I don't owe that to anyone. But that's different than having a secret life. A secret life is I have things that I'm not protecting to keep the dignity of others, or I'm not protecting because it's a healthy boundary, but it's because if someone were to know this, right, then they would know who I really am, and I don't like that. Whether it be because
you're lying, yeah.
Right, I don't want to reveal myself, or the other part being I am sinning. I am actively doing a thing that if people knew about, they would be very upset with me because I shouldn't be doing it. Both of those are traumatic. Yeah. They have different causes. But yeah, let's start by distinguishing it that, if you're having disciplinary problems with your kid at home, you do not need to broadcast that on social media. However, if you are trying to present that child as perfect, and you are trying to act as if that's not a child who acts like a kid and has some issues, and you refuse to acknowledge it with your teachers, and you refuse to acknowledge it with other mentors in their life. Why are we hiding that? Are we ashamed? Are we scared? What lie are we believing? I think it can be very different.
Yeah. And I think The big difference is making sure that somebody knows. So I always say my philosophy of life is that there should be at least one person that if something was to be published online about my life, about something wasn't the best part of my story, wasn't the best part of Bridgett, that it's not coming as a surprise. Like somebody knows. And I think that that's really important of like the idea of living with accountability and with intentionality is that those people, that doesn't have to be everybody. Now, I understand that there's some people in their healing journeys that part of the victory that they've walked in with Christ. And if people have been listening to the podcast for a while, I'm very honest about my life and my struggles and what happens. So I'm not hiding that, but also there is a place that I think is healthy for all people that only my counselor knows that information.
Well, so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Because a few weeks ago, we had a staff meeting, and in that staff meeting, I said some very straightforward things, right? The staff likes to joke that I have a 10-minute monologue in every staff meeting, beginning, end, somewhere in between. It's true. I usually do. I have a monologue for a little bit. But this particular monologue was, there are some things that no matter how much I love you, if they're an issue and I find out, and this is speaking to the staff of the church that I oversee, that you'll be gone. It will be no conversation, that the elders have empowered me, that in these situations, it's done. And I said, the vast majority of things that we would struggle with, if you have a conversation with me, it's going to be very safe and we're going to move mountains to get you help. And then I said between that point and coming to my office and being dismissed, there are a million moments where you can reach out and you can talk and have those things. And if you remember, I actually said, try to have someone who is not me, who is not affiliated with our church, is not affiliated with our denomination, our tribe, that you can talk to these things to regularly so that when there's a problem, you have that go-to person. So first of all, two questions. One, how did you process that? And then the second one, we're talking about secret versus private. When we're talking with that person, how do we know the difference between, okay, this is a private thing that this person has this place in my life versus, well, here's someone who's contracted to make sure that they keep it quiet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So my life is about me. I know that goes against everything that we're saying, but in this context, like, I'm responsible for making sure that my needs are taken care of. And so if I'm needing to go process through something, like, I have the right to go get help. And I think breaking that, because everybody experiences fear and shame. Like, the reason you keep a secret is because you're afraid. And like, for me, like, I always say this, like, when you catch yourself sinning, or I know that's doesn't necessarily mean going and killing somebody, but like, when you catch yourself behaving in a way that dishonors God, like, I'm not even jumping to repentance right away. I'm going to, hey, what am I afraid of?
You've grown in that, Bridgett, because I remember there being a time where there would be things, and they're not, here is my litany of sins, right? Yeah. It's, I have a question, and I wonder if people are going to think of me a certain way.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have and I remember one of the most powerful things you did was articulate that fear to me.
Oh, yeah.
And saying, I'm a little nervous about how Kris is going to see this, and then to extend the trust to say it anyway. And I love that because over the last, somewhere between 500 and 400 years, however long we've known each other, I think I've hopefully contributed to putting away that fear. Yeah. That, when you feel that, that's almost a prompting, hey, we should go talk to our coworkers. We should go talk to the people around us, because if I'm going to harbor this fear, because what you really do is you've made the decision, this is how they would react. It's not just a fear they might react that way. You start to live as if they're going to react that way, and that sours relationships quick. Yeah. Well, if I tell my wife, then she's going to be mad at me. Well, maybe. But now it's not as if you just said, okay, she might have. You treat her like she's that person. Yeah. Whether she is or not.
Yeah. That's good. I feel this is big. This is like every part of life. I think a couple of things. I think number one, I definitely in my life, I have more erred on the side of telling too many people too much information, in the sense that like I have a high desire for connection. I love people. I love processing. Like I'm a feeler. I am a verbal processor too. So a lot of the way that I process, even with God, like has to be out loud or written down somehow. And so I think what I've learned as I've matured is that like your level of intimacy with another person, close to another person, does have to actually match the level of trust you have with that person. And unfortunately, what happens is we go too deep too quick with people. And we end up getting hurt in the process because there actually wasn't enough trust to maintain that connection. So the idea that obviously I think professional counseling is a different set of circumstances. So let's take that off the table for this conversation.
That is a person that because of their qualifications you extend an unusual amount of trust to.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's different. But like in everyday life, I think the idea of the desire to keep something secret is the fear, the shame of whatever's going on. But I think as you have people that you trust, because a lot of us have gone through situations in our life that we just distrust people. Mm-hmm. So the idea of having a private life feels so scary and intimidating because you actually have to let someone into the deep parts of who you are. But as you learn to trust, and I think, what you mentioned as our relationship has grown, that I've had to mature in just my bravery of saying, hey, I just need you to know that the story I'm telling myself is that you're going to fire me about this. Now, that could be true. Most likely it's just my anxiety and my past trauma of different experiences that are driving that fear, or it's the enemy literally just lying to me about you. Because that's the best thing that the enemy can do, is just to plant lies about another person. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I tell people, like, it's in just the spiritual atmosphere that it's not even necessarily a feeling you feel towards someone. It's literally the assignment that you're picking up. Let's break this down for a second. I don't know if I showed you this. I know this is not necessarily on this topic, but it's really important. Wow, that was a lot of words really fast. Pause for a second. When we have conflict with another human, yes, there is the part of you threw water in my face. I'm upset with you. Your actions violated me. Okay, cool. Then there's the other part of you said something in a way that reminded my brain of another person that says something with their intentions, and all of a sudden those intentions are now put on you. But then there's that third category that's very real, that the enemy tries to destroy any relationship that honors Christ. And so he will come and say, see, Kris hates you. And it's literally not even a feeling I have towards you. And I'm obviously making some of this up, but not even a feeling I have towards you. It's literally just what I'm hearing in the atmosphere. And if I'm not connected to God enough and self-aware enough to say, that comment actually did make me feel this way. Let's have a conversation about it. It can end up ending really good friendships or family relationships just simply because they got twisted.
Well, and let's look at different dynamics. Okay, so here, let's start with the church, right? We have something like 16 folks that full-time, part-time, they're part of our family. We've got another dozen ministry leaders, that kind of thing. So we've got a pretty good network of folks, and I trust them. Mm-hmm. I think they trust me. I'm very confident they do. But if that trust stops, one of us is gone. Okay, and that's not because I'm mean, but it's because we're not cranking out a physical product here, right? We're dealing in human lives, and so I have to trust you. You have to trust me. So the best thing the enemy can do, because if the enemy comes in and you're having a hard time, you're fighting a spiritual battle, and you tell me, right? I'm going to make sure that you're in places where you can be not just prayed for, but you can be supported and helped. Mm-hmm. But if he tells you, if Kris knew this, he would think less of you. He would trust you less. He would, well, listen, when someone comes up to me and says, hey, this is embarrassing, but I'm really struggling with this, this person, this issue, whatever. And I feel like as my leader or as my pastor or whatever the relationship is, take it to your family, right? Well, I'm going to harbor this against you, but hopefully have a great relationship. I heard a great story today. I'm not going to say the name, but he listens to the podcast, so his ears are going to perk up, of he and his wife pausing a show and her just simply saying, hey, you did this thing today, and this is how I felt. This is what it kind of did. And all he had to say was, thank you for letting me know. And she had a trust in him that he's going to address it. He has a trust in her that this can be as far as it goes. And there's no need for all the other steps. Now, between where a lot of couples are and getting to that point, there's a big bridge. Can I loop back for a second?
Yeah.
Something you talked about was sometime, because on one side it's the secret life. I can't let anyone know because I have to keep it hidden. I have to keep, and Satan just fully controlled that person.
Yeah. Or there's also like, let's take it less dramatic and the just like, I want to have my false self, like you're talking about.
Yeah, well, that's where I want to go with it, because almost on the other side is I'm going to project this thing on social media. And I don't, listen, I'm not going to rip apart social media. It does phenomenal things. Yeah. It does wonderful. I mean, the gospel has been spread through Facebook in tremendous ways recently.
Especially on The Chosen.
Yeah, people tell me I have to watch a show, and something in me just says, never going to watch it. We have this. So there's not just the false, though, but there's also the I'm going to have this false authenticity where I tell everyone everything, even though I'm violating other people's trust.
Correct.
That is disgusting. Hold on. Let me. There are people who are doing it who may be listening to this, and I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but that is wrong. It is wrong to take a family argument onto social media. It is wrong to take a private thing that you have with someone and put it on social media. And I don't care if you're an influencer or if you are an average Joe. And this is part of it, because what we're really talking about when we talk about private versus secret is where a big part of this is boundaries. So I can't let anyone know because my behavior is sinful, it's negligent, it's hurtful. I have to keep that a secret. Okay. Well, you need to develop the people in your life that when they hear about the worst parts of you, okay? And you know what? Yes, if you're really struggling, there are professionals that can process that with you. They can process whatever it is. But there's also that part, I need to project an image of perfection or whatever it may be for myself, for my family, for my spouse, for my kids, whatever. It has to be exhausting. It has to be frustrating. And you have these avenues around you that can support, that can help. I remember sitting down with a professor at my college who was African. And he sits down across from me, and I've never met this man before. I don't even know his name. And he says, how are you today? I said, I'm doing great. How are you? He says, I'm very confused because you say you're doing great. But in America, you could be getting ready to die. You could stand up right now, walk over there, and die. And you would have told me you're doing great. Why is that? At first, I thought, is he threatening me? Did he put something in my Cheerios? My second thought was, yeah, that's right. Yeah. There are absolutely things that we hold sacred and we have levels of disclosure. But that's privacy. If I go to the hospital, Bridgett, the whole church isn't going to know. Oh, but we want to pray for you. I understand, but some of you're going to show up. And I don't want that. I want just my wife. I want to be alone. I'm a private person. So I will disclose this to you and to the people that need to know and should know. The people I would trust to pray for me and kind of stay at a distance. I don't owe you that. You don't owe me that. But it's not a secret. I'm not hiding the fact that I'm going in. I'm choosing how to disclose my events, who I am, my family, whatever it may be. And if someone takes offense to that, all right, that is a separate issue. But I'm not trying to hide it. I'm being appropriate in who and how I disclose something.
Because it has to do about intentions.
Yeah.
So, the intention of what's the why behind the withholding of information. If the withholding is to protect love and protect connection, and not in the sense of, oh, I'm trying to protect love because I'm afraid I'm going to lose it, but in a like, no, like this is actually honoring to myself and to the other person. That's that goes in the private category of this is something that I'm honoring the sacredness of this story, whatever it is, right? On the other side, the secret part is, again, it goes back to the fear. So why am I afraid? I'm afraid that I will lose something if I share this information. I think I love that story because it is a cultural thing too of, hey, I'm okay. I don't think that you have to lie to people and try to be some bubblegum fairy, right, when things are terrible. But also, it's really inappropriate. So it's really inappropriate to be like, let me tell you the sob story of my life. Like, inappropriate. So I think culturally speaking, like, we do have to change. So, like,
for just a moment, though, that's completely inappropriate, asterisk, because there are people that when they ask you how you're doing, that they have that place in your life that you do say that.
That's what I was going to say. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure we get that.
No. That's where I'm trying to go. Because I think as the person asking that question, you have to have the integrity that if you ask the question, you have to actually want to mean it.
Yeah.
Because I asked the question. So if I'm trying to be my false self, right? Like, oh, hi, how are you today? Blah, 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 blah. And then someone tells me something and I hold resentment towards them. It's not because they overshared. It's because I opened up a door that I didn't actually want that person to come into.
Right.
So to say, hey, I'm really glad to see you today. I'm not able to have a long conversation today. I've got to go, if you go and pick up Benjamin or something, like I have to go pick up my kid from school. I don't have time for this conversation. That's really fine. But let me tell you that if we're stuck in the people-pleasing mode, like we're so okay violating those boundaries because we don't want to disrupt the relationship. But in reality, drawing those boundaries and saying, hey, I actually can't go that deep with you right now is really okay. But then the asterisk part of the statement, meaning you have to be able to live in vulnerability and oh my gosh.
I'm loving this. Go on.
I can't talk today.
It's all right. This is bringing me joy because I got so tongue-tied last sermon. It was embarrassing.
Yeah, you paused. It was
I just had to stop and recover.
It's okay. So I'm stopping and recovering. You don't have to have it. So this is what I use in counseling sessions. This is the language I use. I call it open box and closed box time.
Yeah.
So there are safe, beautiful people in your life, or if there's not, we have a staff full of people here, or we'll direct you to professionals that can serve as that place for you that know how to process life stuff. Those are the times where you can be unfiltered. You can say all of the things that are not appropriate to say in front of the whole world, that you can just be real because you don't actually process or anything if you're trying to I'm trying to sugarcoat. This interaction I had actually really hurt my feelings and I'm feeling whatever. Again, appropriate though, because you are a human being that has the right to be mad, sad, frustrated, all the bad things. Bad use of language. All of the hard things. But even as someone is hurting you, that doesn't give you the right to dishonor them.
So, as you're saying this, something I'm processing at the same time is, we have. All right, so let's back up a little bit. So one of the things we're talking about with the private life versus the secret life is we're basically saying that things need to be dealt with authentically, and they need to not be hidden in the shadows out of fear or shame or guilt or whatever it is. Okay, but now we got to talk about disclosure. Most people are friends. Okay. Look, that's okay. You cannot maintain 36 ridiculously close relationships. Right. But I'm an extrovert, and you still can't do it. You can set forward a false self with that many people, but you're not going to really be able to maintain that deep, meaningful, Jesus and Peter relationship, Jesus and John relationship. But you do need those. Okay, you do need those. So for your acquaintances, yeah, it's going to be, I'm struggling. Things are rough at home, or things are rough at work, or, I just lost someone I love very dearly. Mm-hmm. That's okay. They can be praying for you. They can have that. Mm-hmm. I just lost someone I love very dearly, and I don't know how to cope. All right, this is where it's the battle buddies, right? It's the folks that are just the person that if you're on your back and can't move, they're going to drag you to safety. The people you really have that great relationship with, and or the people who have a gifting and a calling to help people through these things. This is why our staff, we are unashamed to refer the people that we love dearly to professional counselors in certain areas, because we have our areas of strength. And if you've exceeded our ability or our capacity, or if we don't think we're the best thing for you, we're going to put you in those right places. So I'm not saying, let's take something, because what are the kind of things we hide? We hide sexual sin. We hide a lot of temptation. We hide a lot of these things, be it familial or whatever it is. We hide them, okay? I'm not saying pick the first person on your Facebook friends list and private message them all of your woes. I'm not saying post it publicly because you want to be quote unquote authentic. What I'm saying is, if you have those relationships that are developed, go out to lunch. Spend time, get in the car and drive somewhere together. Have those conversations so that you have people. And again, it's not you're here to just constantly pour into it. You're just constantly there to suck life out of them. One of those people for me is my brother. He's one of the few people I can call and I can say, this part of my life was just trash today, and I'm frustrated and I'm so angry. And I love it because he'll listen. He also has respect for me, that if he says, okay, but Kris, you're not seeing this clearly, right? Yeah. I really can appreciate that. And then I absolutely have people that they are in my life and they have a role to support me in those ways. So again, secret is I'm not going to let anyone know, because I need to keep this lie. I need to keep this lie out of fear, out of insecurity, whatever it is. Private is there are some people that this doesn't get disclosed to. Correct. Right? If I have an argument with my wife, of the 7 billion people walking on this planet, all but maybe 5 of them will never know. Well, because I'm going to pretend like my marriage is perfect. Well, that's what I just said. I'm not pretending it's perfect. Yeah. But I'm not going to stand up and make a sermon illustration out of something I think my wife did wrong. Yeah. That's fully inappropriate. But there are men in my life that I will say, hey, I'm having some struggles. Help me through this. And it's their joy to do so. And when they ask me how I'm doing, I say, well, can we grab coffee? Yeah. So I do hope you have that people. I hope that everyone has that person. And I also hope that they're following Jesus. Because the response of, well, just go smack them, right? I'm struggling with this. Go smack them. Well, they're horrible. Everything you do is right because I'm your friend. That's not helpful. Yeah. But private is, there are some people that this is an appropriate disclosure. Secret is, I will not let anyone know this because I want to lie about who I am. And I want people to fall in love with that lie.
Yeah. This is a really big conversation. We didn't get to the bottom of it today, but we at least started the conversation. We've all experienced the pain of secrecy and the pain of oversharing. And I think part of the discipleship journey is learning the beautiful discipline of privacy, that it actually has a lot of honor. It respects ourselves and others and gives dignity to our story, and makes sure that we are setting ourselves up for success in the sense that we are sharing information in a way where we can strengthen ourselves and others in the process. So we'd love to hear your thoughts. Like I said, we covered a lot of ground today, didn't get to the bottom of it, but that's okay. We don't have to have all the answers. We just get to ask questions. So we would love for you to be a part of that. Feel free to reach out to us on social media, send us an email, and we'd love to chat with you. Thanks, guys, for joining our conversation.